What's up, guys? We're back, and it hasn't been long since our Chelsea played another game against Bayern Munich this midweek, but we're back for another match preview because we have yet another really big match against Manchester United tomorrow, Saturday, and it's a 12:30 kickoff if you're in America, Eastern time. If you're in Britain, that would be about, 5:30 or so. So should be a really good game. I'm looking forward to it. There's a couple things I want us to kind of dissect together, talking about. We're not going to be doing like a review of the Bayern game, but in light of how that went, how should we approach this game on Saturday? How should we go at it against a team that is in complete turmoil? There's no other way to put it. But a team that also has potential, has a lot of high echelon players. That are not performing. I'm not sugarcoating it at all. They're performing terribly. However, they obviously still have a ceiling higher than some other teams we will play. But before we do that, make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps this channel grow, helps this video to kind of get pushed out there. So just join the team, join Blues Nation. All right, let's go ahead and hop over to some thoughts. So first off, there are two major things that I think are going to be challenges, that are going to be hurdles for Chelsea Football Club this season. And I'm not going to talk about any kind of specific position here, or a position group, or a specific player even that I think is going to be our weakness. What I'm talking about is factors of this season that are going to become challenges for us that we need to learn how to grow in and navigate. The first of that is squad rotation. What I mean by that is this season is completely unlike last season, where we had the UEFA Conference League, which, to put it frankly, was essentially like playing in the preliminary rounds of the FA Cup in the midweek, where you're playing a bunch of teams that are professional teams, no disrespect, but they're in vastly lower leagues than the Premier League. Obviously, you're playing teams like FC Noah, who you're putting 8 past, and different teams like that, it's not even frankly a challenge. So because of that, we all know about the B squad we could have, right? This is where we played our academy players. This is where we played our 18-year-olds. This is where all the normal starters weren't even in the squad list until the knockout rounds, really. So that is nothing comparable to the Champions League, where you have game after game after game that are immensely challenging. And what I mean by that is we need to learn, and Enzo Maresca needs to learn on the fly, right? Because he's never coached at this level in the Champions League. He himself was talking about that in one of his recent press conferences. We need to learn, how does it look to rotate our squad, but still actually have strong enough squads to win games? Because in the Premier League, of course, right, every game is a championship, and the way that every game, every point dropped affects your final point tally, and so every game matters, right? So it's not like we can just put out B squads in the Premier League now that we have the Champions League. No, I've heard many fans say this, and I tend to agree. I actually care more about the Premier League than the Champions League. Not to say I don't want us to perform well in the Champions League, but I think we've been so poor domestically for so long. I would rather see us compete for a Premier League title than a Champions League title. So how do we do that? How do we rotate that? And I'm not coming here with the answers, but I think this is one of the biggest challenges for Enzo Maresca. How do I rotate a squad enough so everybody's fresh, but also so we're putting out squads that are going to compete both on the weekend and in the midweek? And of course, this will be bolstered by players coming back like Liam Delap, among others, Romeo Lavia, and other players that will reinforce. But you also got to keep the players we have now healthy. So how are we going to do that? And the second challenge I see is mentality. What I mean by that is I'm not questioning our guys' mentality. I think we have winners. I think we have guys that desire to win. However, we have a lot of guys that have never, ever participated in the Champions League at this level where, again, match day after match day after match day, you are playing in games that feel like the caliber of a championship game, that feel like the caliber of a trophy winning opportunity. Let's get some perspective, right? The best team we played in the UEFA Conference League last year was who? Real Betis. Good team, solid team. They have a handful of good players, right? But you sitting here today, don't look on your phone, could probably only name 3 or 4 of their players, right? Probably same here. In the Champions League, let's get some perspective. In the first 5 match weeks, these are the teams we're playing. Bayern Munich, already done. Benfica, FC Barcelona, and Atalanta. That's just in the first 5 match weeks. And this is in the league phase, right? Where you're supposed to be able to pile up some points and get automatic promotion through the playoff round, right? It's a different level. It's a vastly different level. We leapfrog straight from the Conference League, which is, compared to the Champions League, kind of a little bit of a joke, if we're being real, straight to the Champions League with the big boys. Every match week, you have to go out and prepare to play against the best teams in the world. That's a different level. It's a different level where you have to go from the weekends where you're playing these pivotal Premier League games to playing these Champions League games and eventually FA Cup, right, and Carabao Cup, where every game matters. So we have to realize there's no letting off. So what does that look like for preparation mentally? What does that look like to stay on top of things, to stay competitive, even when you have a bad week, right? Even when you do lose a game that you shouldn't have lost in the Premier League, how do you respond in the Champions League? So those are 2 challenges I see for us that I think we need to address, and we need to learn how to navigate as young players and as young coaches, and that's squad rotation and mentality in the midst of a really hard competition. So let's go ahead and hop over to a little bit of match preview for this game tomorrow. Okay, guys, so if you see here up on the screen, I have the lineup that Man United ran out against Man City in their derby. That it was, a super close game, a 3-0 affair. I'm sorry. I will never stop enjoying the downfall of Manchester United. But hopefully pride does not come before the fall with this instance. So let's look at the lineup they have, right? They have Bayindir in goal. They brought in Lamens, who I think will probably take that spot eventually, but Bayindir still has the goal. I'm imagining he might still be there at the weekend. And then they were running a 3-4-2-1, so they had 3 center backs, essentially Luke Shaw more, right, like a left back, but still. So they had De Ligt, Lenny Yoro, Luke Shaw, and then the 2 kind of in the engine room for them were Bruno Fernandes and Manuel Ugarte. Not a very athletic midfield, I'll put it that way. And then your kind of right wing back, left wing back, Patrick Dorgu and Mazraoui. And then your kind of attacking midfielders who, come up in the wings as well. Amad Diallo, Brian Mbeumo, and then up top, Benjamin Šeško. This is a team where you look at it on paper and you say they actually do have some danger, right? With bringing in players like Mbeumo and Šeško, and right, they brought in Cunha, who's hurt right now. They have players that can cause damage, and of course Bruno Fernandes, right? The problem with them is they're not playing well. They're not playing well together. I don't know if it's a problem of they just need some time to acclimate. I don't know if it's the coach. Amorim, I feel like, shoots himself in the foot every press conference he gets behind a desk. I don't know if he even has a media team. Sometimes it doesn't feel like he does. But anyway, this is a team that will challenge. Against Man City, they had the bulk of the possession. They had less shots, but they had the bulk of the possession, more passing. So they like having the ball, and they're okay having possession, right? Kind of more so in less dangerous capacities, though, as is common when you play with 3 center backs and kind of attacking wing backs. So the reason I bring this up is because it's not like they're a Man United in 14th with no roster, right? They're Man United in 14th that's severely underperforming, as they have for the last years. But they're a team that can cause damage on their good day. In match day 1 against Arsenal, they actually caused Arsenal a lot of problems, and they probably deserve to win that game against a title challenger. So that's why I'm saying on their day, they can be a solid side. It's just most of the time they aren't. So that's Man United. Let's go ahead and look at Chelsea and how do I think will line up. So this is on Lineup Builder. If you haven't used it before, it's a pretty cool website. If you just want to look at how would I set us up, let's look at our players, let's look at our roster. It's fun stuff like that. So let's run through this real fast. I'm not gonna kind of belabor this, but in goal we got Robert Sanchez. Again, he's nailed on there for me for now. And then at right back, I got Reece James. I think he needs to play there because I frankly think he exerted less in the game against Bayern than Malo Gusto. I think Malo Gusto, not a perfect game, right? He was kind of responsible for the 3rd goal. However, he ran himself into the ground. He was running back and forth, creating opportunities on offense while also getting back on defense. You cannot question that guy. Speaking mentality. Malo Gusto put in my opinion, quite a shift against Bayern Munich. I think he needs to probably not start this game, so I'm going to see Reece James there. And then the center back pairing. This is where I'm putting Wesley Fofana. He didn't get any minutes against Bayern, but often you don't really rotate center backs mid-game. I would love to see him play this game. I haven't heard anything about injury setbacks. In my bottom line, I was talking to my wife about this. We're not going to challenge with the center back pairing of Tosin and Chalobah. I think Chalobah is good enough to be a part of a challenging center back pairing, but I think you have to have with him a center back that has the ceiling to be elite. So, sorry, I'm kind of battling fall, cold, allergies, whatever that is, so hopefully that's not annoying. I think we need to start integrating Fofana more, because if he gets back to his ceiling opportunity, right, of being a top 10, top 5 even center back in the Premier League, I think we can challenge with that center back pairing, but I don't think we can challenge with center back pairing of Tosin and Chalobah. So I'm playing Chalobah and Fofana there, and then Cucurella on the left. He had a lot of people are freaking out about his performance on Wednesday. However, I don't think it's the end of the world. Olise is one of the best in-form attacking players right now in Europe. And I don't know if as much of it was completely Cucurella's fault on Wednesday, as some people were saying. But either way, everybody has a off game. And then in the center of the park, I got Andrey Santos and Moises Caicedo. I love Enzo Fernandez. I think he's one of our best players, but he clearly has not been up to speed still. I don't know if a day off might help that, get him a little bit more conditioning, more in shape. I'm not saying he's completely out of shape, but acclimated from his different international duties and also a short summer. He clearly is not quite at the speed yet. So I think I'm going to put Andrey Santos here for a little more energy, a little more athleticism, and also he actually, I think, provides a lot of the same things as Enzo with his passing ability, his scoring ability as well. I'd love to see him for a full 90. And then the front four, if you want to put it that way, I have Cole Palmer in the center. He's back to his best. No worries about him at all. Alejandro Garnacho I have getting his first start. And yes, it's against Man United, I'm aware. Gittins has not been impressive. I think he's going to have to do some stuff probably on the training ground and maybe in some Carabao Cup games in order to prove himself worthy of starting in Premier League and Champions League. I'd give Garnacho a run out. I think he's been showing effort. He obviously has a lot of talent. I'd say give him a chance because I think Esteval will start on the right because I think Pedro Neto needs a break. He works so hard. He doesn't always play amazingly, but he works kind of like Malo Gusto incessantly. So I think he needs a break. And then Joao Pedro, speaking of breaks, he needs one, but he's not going to get one because who are we going to play? We haven't given Mark Yu a single minute off the bench yet, so he's obviously not going to start. Delap's still injured. Nicholas Jackson just beat us with Bayern Munich, so he has to play for me. Coming off the bench, Enzo Fernandez will definitely come off the bench, even maybe at halftime if Andre's not playing particularly well. Pedro Neto will probably come off the bench. Gittins will probably come off the bench, maybe Tyreek George. So there's some players you could imagine seeing. As for prediction, let's finish off the video with that. Okay, guys, so for predicting kind of this result, I think it's going to end in a 2-1 Chelsea victory. I do think we'll get a victory. I think we need to. Man United's not a good team. They have a good title. They have a good team name. They have a good history. They're not a good team. I think we'll win this game, but I don't think it'll be completely shut down because until we figure out our center back pairing, I think we're going to be a little bit rocky. Not completely, not as bad as we were under Pochettino, but a little bit. So I think it'll be a 2-1 game against a team that will threaten, a team that will compete. However, I do think we'll come out on top. So guys, leave your thoughts down below. What are your score predictions? Do you agree with the rotation I made? Do you agree that we need to start to figure out this kind of idea of how do we rotate our squad, right? To challenge, but also to stay fresh. What do you think about that? How do you think that should affect our game tomorrow? So guys, let's see how we do tomorrow and up the Blues.